Well, ladies and gentlemen, so welcome to another continuational video, because just this, what was it? June 1st, I did that mega transit video with everybody. Okay, and you guys were posting a lot of questions and asking a lot of questions, on my other social media networks about transits and divisional charts. Like, how do you read them? Because there was discussion in the mega transit video that I did with all the 9-10 astrologers, that most people may think that you have to take the degrees of the planet that is transiting and transfer that onto the divisional chart. So if like Saturn is transiting in the sign of Sagittarius, and it's in the beginning degrees of Mula Nakshatra, and if it's in a certain pada, it's going to land itself in a certain size in Dashamsha, Navamsha, Chaturvasamsa, Trimsamsa chart. Okay, so that is a very smart way of thinking. Like, okay, maybe I should look at transit that way, but practically, it's all about practicality, like what gives the result. Well, all you have to do is just take the sign that the planet is transiting. When it comes to divisional charts, don't worry about the nakshatras, number one. So Saturn is transiting the sign of Sagittarius. Just put that in the divisional chart. So in Navamsha chart, put that wherever the sign of Sagittarius is in your Navamsha. You don't have to reduce it to some degree or to some pada and then see the sign and then transfer it. No, just transfer it. So if, let's say, for example, in your Navamsha, you are a Sagittarius ascendant. So if you want to judge what is to happen when it comes to the institution of marriage, when it comes to the ashram of marriage, when it comes to the ashram of your bhagya, put Saturn in the ascendant of the sign of Sagittarius. And so that's when you will see how the transit of Saturn is putting this dynamic into your Navamsha area. This can easily bring about Saturn in this, let's say in the ascendant, in the sign of Sagittarius, easily bring about responsibility, duty, commitment towards family, towards siblings. It will naturally make you very attentive and serious towards dealing with your marriage issues. Whether they're issues or not, you will have to be responsible. Saturn will put you into a situation where you're going to have to be responsible. Now, for example, we talk about Dashamsha chart. Okay. So in Dashamsha chart, let's say you are a Pisces ascendant. Okay. That means which sign rules, or where is the sign of Sagittarius in your Dashamsha, the D10 chart, the divisional chart in Vedic astrology related to your career. It's in the 10th house. So Saturn is going to be going over to your 10th house. So now think logically, without nakshatras, nothing. Just think logically, what is it going to do upon your 10th house? Well, number one, again, Saturn represents duty, commitment, sacrifices, responsibilities. Okay? All of these things will be seen upon your work area. Because Saturn now rules, and you got to understand this. This is why it's very important to understand the house placement of divisional charts. Like, I come across people on my daily discussions who say, well, I learned under a teacher who doesn't care what house the planets are placed in. They simply look at the sign placement, which is very wrong, especially learning Gemini now, advanced Gemini. You have to know the actual ascendant of your Navamsha, your Trimsamsa, your Sastyamsha, your Dashamsha. You can't just say, oh, I'm just looking at Navamsha for the strength of the planet. Because then certain things you cannot use in Gemini, like what? Padnadhamsa Dasha, which is one of the greatest Dasha that I discovered in my Gemini lessons. So for that, you have to know the right Navamsha, because if Padnadhamsa is running of the 7th house, well, you know the energy of the 7th house is now going to be coming alive, which is what? Marriage, relationship, partnerships. If it's 8th house, it's going to be transformation, changes, sudden things. So if I didn't care about the house placement or the house placement of the planets, I cannot, for me to use any dasha, it's literally useless. I'm going to fail in those things. So in Dashamsha, Saturn is ruling the 10th and 11th house, right? For Pisces ascendant people. This can represent if, let's say, Saturn is in a place where other planetary transits are supporting Saturn, like Mars and Jupiter. Saturn can bring foreign opportunities, temporary foreign opportunities. You may travel to foreign lands for your career. So let's say you are working for Tata consulting firm or Tech Mahindra. Your Saturn comes in the 10th house in the Dashamsha, rules your 12th house. Well, 12th house represents foreign places, foreign lands, expenses, donations. Yes, so it represents losses as well. But here, 12th house energy is coming into the 10th house for that temporary 2.5 years, especially after September when Saturn goes direct into the sign of Sagittarius. And then because Saturn rules the 11th house, sitting in the 10th house, shows there's going to be a lot of interactions with your higher senior executives. You will be noticed through those people. Now, will a promotion come in? Will a loss of job come in? Will a foreign travel come in? For that, again, look for that dynamic of Jupiter, Mars, Rahu, Ketu. Whereas Rahu, Ketu are transiting in your Dashamsha. Like for Pisces people, Rahu is transiting in the 6th house. So if your Dashamsha is Pisces, Rahu is in the 6th house transiting. So take that dynamic. Where is Mars transiting? Where is Sun? But Saturn is literally, you can say, the Atma Karka of Dashamsha. Saturn is the soul of Dashamsha. So Saturn transit in Dashamsha becomes very important. Versus Navamsha. Because in Navamsha, which planet becomes the most important? The planetary transit. The two of the most becomes important is Venus and Jupiter. But obviously, every single planet transit should be looked at. But it's not just the birth chart. So don't look at just birth chart transit and say, well, this is what's going to happen. And this is what's going to happen for all Scorpio ascendant people. This is why when I make my transit video on my second channel, Astrology KRS, I don't just say, well, this is for everybody. I don't spoon feed people. I don't say, well, this is for Aries moon or Aries ascendant or Taurus ascendant and Taurus moon. No, that Saturn that's transiting upon Taurus sign or Sagittarius sign may not do nothing. Now, why is it that a planet may not do anything? Just be nil. Sleeping. So this horrific Saturn, which is debilitated in Aries, is coming into your ascendant in the birth chart or coming into the 7th house of your Navamsha. This is where you have to understand the knowledge of Ashtakavarga. Like if a planet receives, again, this may sound too advanced for you, receives 0 points, it's sleeping. And if it has only 1 point, then you have to judge. Is this planet ruling good houses for me, neutral houses, or some harsh houses? If, let's say, Saturn is a Yoga Karka transiting, in your 7th house, debilitated, but it's received 0, or let's say 1 point. It gives 1 point to the 7th house. Well, it's going to be sleeping 90% of the time, not doing anything. The only time it's going to be up, it's when it's going to reach that Kakshaya slot of the planet where it's awakened. It could be Venus, Jupiter, Saturn itself, Sun. Again, this sounds very alien language. That's okay. I actually have a video that I give, especially now today, I changed it to option 16 on my website, where you can get your Charadasha reading as well as a Ashtakavarga video where you understand Ashtakavarga, because that's something I didn't want to discuss in the video that I made last with all the 10 astrologers, because Ashtakavarga is something I cannot just discuss in a 5-minute time period and say, well, look at transits and then look at Ashtakavarga. Ashtakavarga is like a beautiful system, especially with Parashara astrology, which you can use in your birth chart and divisional charts. And obviously you get that in including, like I was telling you about the Navamsha Dasha all of that. So obviously, if you're new to this video and you do not know what the hell am I talking about, what is Dashamsha, what your Dashamsha chart is like, Navamsha is like, for that, check out the links here. Check out my full astrological report, including my books and consultations at this link. And so in option 5, 6, and beyond, you will get a computerized report where you see all these mathematical things and dasha systems and all your details. But always, first of all, let's say you're judging your Dashamsha chart, okay? Look at a yoga that is being formed in Dashamsha that could be triggered by a planet. So like I was telling you about Saturn transiting in the 10th house for Pisces ascendant people, okay? Or not Pisces, Pisces ascendant in Dashamsha chart. Well, it can transit over your 10th house and you may not feel anything. When will it trigger something? Look at what is sitting in the 10th house. Are there, let's say, 2 planets causing some problematic position, like Vigdakara was saying, which is brilliant. So let's say if you are a Pisces ascendant, Sun and Venus are in your 10th house. In the sign of Sagittarius, in Dashamsha, Saturn is going over it now. Now you can say, okay, something can happen. Some sudden event can happen. Will that be sudden event good or bad? Well, for that, you obviously have to look at everything in totality. Are you running through certain Charadasha or certain Mahadasha, certain Padnadhamsa Dasha that is showing some loss of job? Then yes, you can predict, yes, there would be a loss of work here. But do not also, and this is another point I want to make, do not judge the transit without looking at the dasha system. This is something Ryan was talking about. If something is not promised in the chart, the planet can come, go by, you know, and it won't do anything. So let's say if you have a yoga for no marriage, you just will not get married. You can have all the planets beautifully aligned in a place where they're all looking at this one sign, and that perfect Mahanantra Dasha is coming, and Padnadhamsa Dasha is coming, Chara Dasha is coming. Oh my God, you're going to get married, but then nothing happens. Why? Because we may be missing a certain knowledge of yoga which is denying the marriage. And there are, I know at least 7 or 8 of these yogas. Obviously, I've never discussed them. I think I've discussed it. I have discussed it twice. Let's see if you're smart enough to find that video. It was a video on spirituality. And I believe it was a video. Oh my God, what was that video? I have to remember the title. I know I did that. 2 videos definitely I discussed, at least 2 or 3 combination, which subtly I just said it, but it had nothing to do with marriage. But they were there. So if those yogas are present, that just says no marriage. This is why you have to understand, am I supposed to lose a job? You know, am I supposed to get fired or laid off? If you are, then okay, you can make that judgment. So whenever you look at divisional charts transit, first see the promise in the birth chart and also see the promise in the divisional chart. What promise is there in the divisional chart for your career? So let's say your 6th and 8th house, the 2 malefic negative planets for Pisces ascendant people are sitting in the 10th house. Okay? However, your dashas and antradashas are not showing that you're supposed to have some sort of a loss. So if Saturn comes over this 10th house, what can it do? If you're going through a good time period, it may actually give you a sudden foreign opportunity to go and work. 6th house work, 8th house sudden things, 12th house foreign lands. That's how you make a judgment. So always look at the promise. Now let's say if something bad was to happen, but yet you're going through a good period. Saturn going over these planets may just give a little itch. You may have some disturbance with some coworker woman at work, and you could have some major back and forth bickering with a boss. But yes, work will be stressful for a year or so. You don't want to go to work, but yet you have work. Same thing, like I had so many people saying, well, I have this planet in my Navamsha and now this planet is transiting and this astrologer saying this. Will this happen to me? First, look at the yoga, and then if the yoga is present, look at the dasha. Look at the Jaimini yoga, then use the Jaimini dasha. If you have certain Arishta yoga for Parashara system, look at the Vimshotri dasha. If the Maha and Antra dasha are coming together, transits are coming together, that's where the bad and good judgment should be made. Okay, but literally you can see promotions, demotions, loss of jobs without even transit. Just use Padam Chakra, even on divisional charts. Just use Padam Chakra on divisional charts. In your birth chart mainly, which is very simple. This is why certain astrologers in India, they don't use dashas, they don't use transit, nothing. They look at your chart, they see what age you're going through. Let's say you're going through the age of 31. You're an Aries ascendant, okay? Venus is in the sign of Cancer in the 4th house. Well, look at the 10th house from the Aries ascendant. Look at the 10th house from Venus. Are both showing something good, something bad, or neutral? So if one is good, one is bad position, it becomes neutral. If both are bad, you can say that, okay, at the age of 21, or I'm sorry, at the age of 34, you may have some event happen at work, which is not going to be the greatest event. Very simple. Transit, I feel like transit should be really seen for the subtle things, like will you get sick? Will you have some bickering with this person? Will you travel? Will you, whatever, very subtle things, but majority of the time, you don't even need transit, okay? And it's funny, I actually made a video on my second channel on Astrology KRS. I posted a video of I was like just giving a live reading in a restaurant to my wife's best friend, and it's her daughter was there. And without even knowing her chart, I'm just like giving her everything. And she's like, yep. It all happened. And then her daughter asks me, what happened at the age of 13? I'm like, well, at 13, she must have gotten some physical injury or something. And she's like, yeah, she broke her arm. I guess what happens is when a person is in front of me, my intuition just goes sky high. That's number one thing I noticed. Number two things, which most of you won't like. Anytime I drink, whether it's scotch, martini, just a beer, my intuition and my readings are far superior than when I'm like just normal. I don't know what it is. And I spoke to Eve about this and she made perfect sense about it. And I loved her explanation. So, but anyway, guys, this was my like a quick, simple, analysis of the transit and the divisional charts. Okay, so this way, because I know I didn't have enough time. It was already 2 hours past in that transit video, and Victor Kara was like at 3 a.m. at that time in Japan, and it was like midnight in India, so I had to end it. But this was just my addition to it. Okay, so yeah, and I'll put the link to that reading in the description section that I did on my second channel. Bye bye.